The Denver Broncos have made a series of somewhat surprising roster moves. So if we come over here, according to this tweet from Tom Pelissero, it says the Broncos have waived, and I want you to note waived, wide receiver Marquez Callaway and running back Tony Jones, and they have released wide receiver Little Jordan Humphrey, defensive back Fabian Moreau, and nose tackle Mike Purcell. So I want you to pay attention to the terminology here. Since they waived Marquez Callaway, that could mean that the team is looking to get him back on the practice squad. That's a real surprising move. I thought that Marquez Callaway was almost a lock for the 53-man roster. There could be a further explanation for this. We'll go over that in a second. We already knew about Tony Jones, so that's not much of a surprise there. We already knew he was gone, but the key here is that they released wide receiver Little Jordan Humphrey, Fabian Moreau, and nose tackle Mike Purcell. These guys are all vested veterans, and they're not subject to the waiver process. George Paton talked about that the Denver Broncos are going to place 3 players on the short-term injured reserve list. In order to do that, those players have to make the 53-man roster initially, so that way they can go on IR and not have to miss the entire season. So in order to make that happen, the Broncos have to basically clear 3 roster spots by releasing 3 vested veterans, and then basically guaranteeing those veteran players that they will bring them back on the exact same contract that they were under previously. And basically, this is just a procedural move, and this basically never happened at the end of the day. It's just a move in order to help put players on injured reserve. Now, the players that are going to go on injured reserve, we already know that K'Wan Williams is going to go on injured reserve. Then, after that, it's going to probably be PJ Locke, and then the third one is a little bit up in the air. We know it's not going to be Jerry Jeudy. There's a chance it could be somebody like Riley Moss. That's a big possibility. Apparently, Damari Mathis is dealing with an injury. Hopefully, it's not serious enough that he has to go on the short-term IR. But George Paton said that there are going to be 3 players that are going on the short-term IR. And I feel like 2 of them are going to be K'Wan. Well, we know one of them is going to be K'Wan. I'm pretty sure the second one's going to be PJ Locke, and then the third one, again, is still up in the air. Now, I want to bring in this tweet here from Benjamin Albright, because I thought this was a little bit interesting. Apparently, Mike Purcell may not be brought back until post-week 1. That's interesting. I mean, at that rate, he could sign with another team, so I don't know what the logic is from the team here. That really bears a little bit more of an explanation, in my opinion. Then after that, it says the Broncos are after pass catchers in the trade market or in the waiver claim wire. Wouldn't be surprised if they made runs at more former New Orleans Saints players in Tre'Quan Smith and Dan Arnold. I mean, Dan Arnold I'd be totally cool with because he's available on the waiver wire, but Tre'Quan Smith you'd have to trade for. So I don't know how I'd feel about Tre'Quan Smith. But this is interesting, man. The fact that they parted ways with Marquez Callaway, that's the big surprise here. That and the fact that Purcell could be gone until after week 1, if at all. So, man, this is really, really interesting, Broncos country. I'm curious to see what happens here and if the Broncos do indeed go after somebody like Tre'Quan Smith or Dan Arnold. All right, Broncos country, I'm curious. How do you feel about these moves? I know I'm certainly surprised by the Marquez Callaway move. Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe and ring the bell. And until next time, guys, this has been another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.